So hello, and let's check out how to go from this animation that goes at the same rate, the same speed of the frame rate, to this one where the animation, sorry, where the animation goes to a different speed but at the same frame rate. So you see here how it goes faster. Let me run it, make it run. See how here it goes slower, but the frame rate is the same, and here instead it goes as the same frame rate as this. Let's see how to do it. So let's follow here what we did, and let me write again here in the next screen. I don't want to remember everything because there's a lot of things that I changed that I probably won't remember so fast. So we import Pygame and glob, and then we let this be for the moment, and let's go here to what are the functions that we have. This is the line of code that calls the main function. So we get the main function with the loop, we get the group function here, we get the class my sprite, and we get this FPS to show the FPS that we want. We let apart from for the moment. So let's go into the main function. So def main, and in the main function we have this global clock and global font that is for the FPS here. So we will leave it for now. We don't really need it. We won't print anything on the screen. We just let the okay. Let's Pygame init. I will make we'll jump on something, and then let's create the screen here. That is this one, pygame.display.setMode.size. Let me copy and paste it, and then let's give it a name to the title of the screen, so it's always nice. Let's call it number 5 to distinguish it, and then we have to put the clock here. Let me write it. Clock is for the frame rate. That is important for the thing we are doing. So pygame.time and clock with a capital letter. And then we have, I made this little thing here that is called key action, a collection, a tuple of tuple, a list of tuples, yeah, in which I put the keys, key left, up, space, right, and down, with the action corresponding to the key that I press. When I press the key, left key, the arrow left key, the player will walk, the key up will jump, the space will stay quiet, the right will run, and the down will fall down. So I just put here the keys because I wanted to make the loop here, the while loop, more nice to be read. So while loop for event in pygame.event.get. So we get all the action that the user does if the event type of the user is the Pygame quit. So if he quits the window of the game, it will shut down. So the loop will go to 0, and will exit from the while loop, and pygame.quit will become the things to do to exit from the window. So let's go down here and see if name equal main. So this will happen when we start the file. We'll start this function here. So we got everything pretty nice and done. And what happens here? We just have a window with a name. If I press some button, these are not used yet, so let's leave it for more further in the screen and let me transform the indentation to space so we don't have so many errors. Here I forget to put another equal sign. Here, what's the problem here? Screen is a sign I never used. Let's use screen. First of all, we are going to update the screen, so we're going to put screen.fill with the black color in a tuple, so 0, 0, 0 for the red, green and blue, and then I'm going to update the screen so it doesn't give me more. This clock is never used, so let's use it. We're gonna use here because we're gonna to put clock.tick at 60 frames per second, and there is too much space here. And key action, this is not used. How we are going to use this? And we will probably see it later. Sites is not defined. Okay, we don't have sites because I don't want to use. I want to directly put the sides of the window here. Let's see if it runs and if it closes correctly. Yes. And now we are going to display our images. Okay, let me see that the images are into this folder here, PNG, and we got all the images, and you find the link in the description of the video and in the post of the blog, pythonprogramming.altervista.org. Okay, now let's go into the loading of the images. That is a little bit complicated, but not too much. To load the images, we got to create the class MySprite that inherits from Pygame.sprite.sprite with a capital letter, the second one. Then we have to define the init method that you can see on the left. If I can write it. With the self as usual, and we will pass the action of the name of the action of the images that we want to load, because if you go into this directory that we will download, you will see, for example, work are the images for the working, run is the images for the running, etc. Now we're going to define, I always explain it in other videos, so I won't take it too long. So I'm gonna initialize a superclass calling this class, and then self, and then initializing it. Then I'm going to define some variables, some attributes of this class, that is action, taken from that I give it as an argument, and I put it here in self.action. Self images will contain instead, if I go to the next line, will contain the list of the images, and then I need to set them in a proper way because they are more than 10 images, so I need to do a temporary list and then extend the first list, as you will see soon, and I will do it into load images, okay, into this function. And then I will also need a self count to slow down my images. That is the thing that is different from the other video that you have probably seen before. So load, why do I set images with the usual self here, and then in here I will create a list of images that will use glob to load all the images, glob.glob, and images will start with the png, that is the directory, and into the directory there will be a self action. Will start with the self action, that is the argument that I have put it inside, and then a number any kind of number that follows the name and ends with PNG. So this will get all the files that we need into this list. But then what I want to do is a for loop that for each image in this list, because we get the image in this list of images. So for each one of these images that I've just uploaded, if the len of the image, so the name has a number of characters, if the len of this file name is equal to the len of the first one of the image, that is the number 0 of this list of elements of names that file names that I got here. So if it is equal, so why this if the len of each image is equal to the len of the first one? Because as I said, this one goes from 1 to, you see, 13 more than 10. So what happens that the computer will put the number 10, for example, after the number 1, the number 11 after this. So it will go 1, 10, 11, 12, etc., and then goes to 2, 3. Why this? Because it doesn't see the 1 and 0 like a number, but one like letters, characters. So for the computer, 10 goes after 1 and instead of 2. So to fix this, I've made that if the length of the file name is equal to the first one, so practically it will take the number from 1, 2, 3 and to 9. They will put them here. We'll put one after another until 9, and not any one after 9. So 10, 11 won't go here. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it will append the surface image that will be loaded. Okay, Pygame load image. I put too many load here. Pygame image.load will load the image only if it's from 1 to 9 into images. Else, if it's more than 9, so from 10 on, self, we will use a temporary image, temp images. We will append them from 10 to 11, etc. We will append them here, pygame dot image dot load img. At the end of this process, we will join the two images, so into images. We will extend the first one with the second one with temp images, so self temp images. So now we got just one image in the right order. Let's use also a self.index that we will use it to make the right sequence of images when we update them. Self-index equals 0, and then we need also this rectangle here, self-rectangle, to make all things work. And this is the dimension of the sprite. Now we need to update our list of sprites, and we will use self count to make the animation go slower than the frame rate, as you have seen at the start, and as you will see. So if self-index it's major or equal to len self images, so this line of code will make the images go back to the first one in a loop when it reaches the last one. And so then self image will be the image to display, will be the one of the list of images that has the index that goes further in the animation each time that this function update is called, but not for each frame, but only if the self count is major than 2, so it will go slower for this reason. Then it will update the index, and it will get the counter back to 0 so that we will be start counting again, and do the right thing, slowing down the animation. And then we'll need another function here, that is group sprites, and this function, what it does, returns pygame dot sprite dot group with capital letter self. It will practically get this sprite and grouped it with this function that will help us to animate the sprite. Like in here, I want to show you that this group thing here will function like this. Okay, first I'm gonna create another function here that will be useful, and this is the function def group that will create the sprites, all the sprites, and will also group them. So we will use this dictionary here, and we will have all the name of the images without numbers are either work run, as you see in the, let me show you again what happens here. Let me show you again in the PNG. We got either, that, run, jump, work. So you gotta put this name here, work, run, jump, and that, and then you split them to create a list of this thing, or you can just do it in 2 lines of code instead of 1 if you prefer, for more readability. So for each one of these actions, so either, work, jump, ramp, and deck, for action in actions, we will iterate to them, and we will create a dictionary that will have the key as the action and the value as my sprite. Here we are going to create our sprite with all our images, and we created each sprite into this dictionary, each dictionary with this key correspond to the sprite with that action. Okay. So when the player press a button, now instead of doing a lot of if event key, etc., we will use these key actions. For each key and each value in key actions, okay, we will check if event dot key is equal to key, then my group Here we got return the dictionary. That will become action, and then we will do my group will become action, the dictionary of idle. This is the position at the beginning, and okay, now we just don't we Okay, now you can see that it goes at 60 frames. It do not display the 60 frames, but it does. If you want to, I can put it here. Let me just copy this, put it into here. And this is the frame rate. And then you need the font to initialize the font here into here, for example, and then to display the font with the screen blit, like in here. And you also need to make global two variables, global font and clock. Okay, you can see now the frame rate at 60, but the character is going to a proper frame rate, animation rate, let's say so, because I'm animating it here with this count major than 2. If I go major than 5, for example, it will go slower, you see, but the frame rate is always at 60. If I put this at 1, it will go to the normal kind of. If I put at 2, it will go like this. If you prefer at 3, you change it here. Sorry, here. Okay, there it is, goes slower. I think that 2 is good. Okay, so that's all. If you want to see how we worked before, it was like this. You see, very fast at 60 frame. If you instead in the new code you have it like this. So I think this is more indicate for your game. Thank you and see you in the next episode.